So hello guys. ये कैसे भाई खराब हो गया यार। मुझे समझ ही नहीं आता ये कैसे। अभी तक तो बढ़िया चल रहा था, क्या मेरा ये पीसी हैंडल नहीं कर पा रहा? क्या ये मैक की गलती है? तो गाइस, आज अपन पढ़ने वाले हैं मैड वन का फोर्थ वीक। मैड वन के फोर्थ वीक में परसिस्टेंट स्टोरेज और इनसे रिलेटेड चीज़ें हैं। यहाँ तो अच्छा वर्क कर रहा है, क्या पता वहाँ क्यों नहीं कर रहा। ठीक है, परसिस्टेंट स्टोरेज के बारे में अपन पढ़ने वाले हैं आज। व्हाट इज़ द आउटकम ऑफ परसिस्टेंट स्टोरेज सिस्टम्स 1.5x पे पढ़ेंगे अपन।
Hello everyone and welcome to this course on modern application development. Today we are going to look at the topic of models, in other words the M in the MVC paradigm. To understand the requirement for a model or what we mean by a model, we first need to understand what we mean when we talk about persistent storage. Okay? As an example, we'll take the gradebook application, and as I'll walk you through, we'll also see why it is that we need persistent storage, and as we move forward, we'll look at ways by which this can be done. So, as mentioned in the video on views, the running example that we will be using through the course is on implementing a student gradebook. And the kind of data that we have in this gradebook is a list of students for whom we will have information such as a unique ID number. In other words, each student has a unique ID. We will have a name for each student. And this is actually where the ID becomes important, because it's entirely possible that two students could have the same name. But on the other hand, it is guaranteed that two students cannot have the same ID. Students could also have additional information, maybe their address, or if they are staying in a hostel, then what is the hostel, what is the room number. In addition to this, another sort of object or a piece of data that we have with regard to the gradebook is a set of courses, a list of courses. Courses once again have an ID associated with them, and they have a name. For example, course name, course number or ID could be something like EE1001, and the corresponding name might be Introduction to Electrical Engineering. Okay, so once again you can see that the expectation is that the ID is unique. In the case of courses, we generally expect the name also to be unique, although we might have situations where more than one course is called calculus. Right? And then you have to sort of go by the course ID number in order to ensure that you have got the right course. Courses could also have additional information associated with them. They might be associated with certain departments. They might be offered in a particular year and so on. Now, as far as we are concerned, the main thing that we are trying to model over here is there are also relationship between students and courses. In other words, I can talk about a student taking a course, or I can ask for the list of students who are registered for a given course. Right? So there is always one student and one course can be associated with each other, meaning that that student is registered for that course. So that's the sort of simple application that we are considering over here, and we'll be using that in order to motivate our examples using the models. So this is one way by which we could represent the data that I was talking about. Okay, so on the left-hand side, you can see that there's a list of names. These are just made-up names. It turns out there's actually a random name generator somewhere on the internet. And the ID numbers, well, MAD, Modern Application Development, I just gave it the name 001, 2, 3, and so on. Okay, typically this would be some kind of a roll number associated with your college or institution, or in the case of the online degree, the IIT Madras, which is actually granting which is giving you your roll numbers. So the ID number or roll number in the case of students has to be unique, right? On the other hand, names need not be unique. It's entirely possible that more than one person has the same name, but then of course we expect that they have different ID numbers, and there are some other ways of identifying who is who. Similarly, on the right-hand side, you can see that there's a list of courses, and the course ID is E1001, AM1100, just a few random names and IDs, right? And the corresponding names, Introduction to Electrical Engineering, Engineering Mechanics, and so on. So as you can see, one of the things that you can sort of notice as a pattern is the course ID and similarly the ID number for the students are sort of clearly defined patterns, right? For the students, it has
तो अपन को what we have learned so far is how the structured is programmed, ये मतलब ये जो प्रोग्राम है इसका कैसे स्ट्रक्चर उन्होंने बनाया हुआ है अपन को। अब देखो मेन चीज़ उन्होंने जो बताया हुआ है कि जो अपने कोर्स वेबसाइट है और मतलब कोर्स आईडी और नेम है, ये दो अपन को उसमें मेन चीज़ें दी गई हैं, कोर्स आईडी नेम और आईडी नंबर, जो आप इधर देख सकते हैं।